I'm Kelly Mitchell, the Caffeinator, and you're listening to BreveTV. I want to say fuel for women, uncorked. This is BreveTV Uncorked, Women on Wine, Business, and Evolution, and I'm Kelly Mitchell, the Caffeinator, sharing rich conversation to enlighten, challenge, and inspire the busiest people on earth. My co-host, Debra. Welcome to the show, Debra.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Always wonderful to see you.
Fabulous to have you here as well. We will be in the stream at 6 p.m. Wednesdays, 6 p.m. Pacific time sharp, playing the video. So make sure you go to brevetv.com/live, whatever Wednesday it is, unless it's Christmas or New Year's. We'll see you there. And be sure to tell us what's in your glass. Now, let's get this party started. We're going to begin with a quote. This quote is from Mouillere, and it's "To live without loving is not really living," right? And today's show is C'est La Vie. We're episode 69, 5 Ways to Live with Happiness as a Way of Life. So, the premise for this show is really to get people to come to grips with the fact that, we get so wrapped up in the mundane and the manini, and there I go, tossing around a Hawaiian word, that means very small things, and the mundane, and making them bigger things than they are in our lives. And we really have so many amazing things happening in our lives. We are trying to give us all the opportunity to kind of swim through the debris and get to the meat and the core of what's really important and what we need to focus on, in particular when we start to feel like things aren't so great. So C'est La Vie as a way of life. And Debra, what is in your glass today?
Well, today in my wine glass is a fantastic, it's called Una Volta. So you're going to throw around some Hawaiian, I'm going to throw around some Italian.
Love it.
Una Volta means one time in Italian, which I love. It's a gorgeous blend. It almost is like a super Tuscan. I know we've had a couple of those on the show in the past, but it's Franc and Sangiovese, which I love. And so I am enjoying this. What I love about this particular red is that you don't need food with it. I love a really good red that you can just pour and drink, and
Do you need food with any wine? I thought,
for me,
wine was good on its own.
There are certain wines that do require food to get the best out of them. This is just pour and drink.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well that's a new philosophy for me. So I thought the finishes on wine were the food. So, you put some tannins in there, and there you go. That's your main course, right? You have the liquid with the tannins, and it's the little buttery finish, right? If you're drinking a Chardonnay, there's, your little embellishment for the whatever.
What is in your wine glass?
Oh my God. Okay, so it's a Whitehall Lanes. I have personally visited Whitehall Lanes, although it's been a little while. This is a Sauvignon Blanc. It is a 2012 Napa Valley. And what I love about this wine is that this is a small family place, and they actually have this little crest. You see this little crest right here? The little lion, and it's the Leonardini family.
Ooh.
Their winemaking tradition, and Leonardini means little lion. Okay, so that's what I'm having, and I haven't tried it yet. Oh my goodness, there's a blemish on my glass. I'll hide that while I try it.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh my goodness, that is delightful. It's actually a heavier Sauvignon Blanc than I'm used to. You know how some Sauvignon Blancs can taste like water?
Yes, they can be very, very, very thin.
I would call this a medium-bodied Sauvignon Blanc.
Interesting.
Ooh,
well,
it's very
try it.
And it just kicked me in the tummy.
Awesome.
In a good way, yes. Okay, so back to our topic, 5 ways to live happiness as a way of life. This is so important. I mean, happiness is one of the key reasons that we're on the planet, right? It's this evasive thing at times that we struggle so much to find, and we think that there's going to be magic, whether it's in a title of an organization that you're trying to achieve or a level of income you're trying to make. And it's really like we're chasing the wrong things when we're looking for happiness. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I think, well, the things that you mentioned, I think most of us kind of equate happiness and success with those things that are external. And I think that's part of the problem. I think that's part of why we have, you know, such sadness and depression and things going on, because we give the control over to other people on what makes us happy.
Exactly. And it's like, I mean, and even from the sales standpoint, like if we achieve, you know, $800 million in sales, and that means we're taking home $300 million, that stuff's not going to keep us warm at night, and it's certainly not going to, you know, give us a hug later. So it's like these things that we really need to focus on for happiness really are. And you know, when we were talking earlier, I want to go back to this thing that I had shared earlier. You know, a lot of my photography over the years of Hawaii has always been these very big scenes. And I likened taking these pictures of these scenes to missing the point on what happiness is. We're always looking at this big giant picture of what happiness should be. And it's really not the big giant picture. The things that you need to look for happiness on are in the detail, the little teeny tiny things that exist every day that we take for granted. A child's up in the morning, you know, the sun that raises itself regardless of how the hell it's feeling. It's up in the air every morning at the crack of dawn, right?
Literally at the crack of dawn.
So, I mean, how do you feel about it? Do you feel like do we really look too much from a all-encompassing what does my whole life look like for happiness, and not focusing enough on the small stuff, or what is it?
Well, I think that you're making such a great point that we tend to just assume or accept that it is big picture, and that everything has to be this epic photo for it to be meaningful, in other words. So I think that one of the things that we really need to talk about is defining what makes you happy, and making those things part of your everyday. And it could be, you know, taking photos of something really specific, you know, the sand, a footprint in the sand versus the beach. It could be, you know, taking a picture of a flower versus a field of flowers, you know, honing in. But it could also just be just taking a moment, just taking an absolute quiet moment and lighting a candle, saying a prayer, doing something that you know that you've already stated makes you happy. So I think writing down a list of 5 to 10 things that you can do on the fly that make you happy is super important.
And there's so many things. I mean, they have books like 1,000 things to be happy about. You can get a book that tells you 1,000 things to be happy about and go through those and, you know, choose the ones that really resonate with you. But I mean, there are so many things, and we often get caught up in the day-to-day without thinking or appreciating, you know, that little thing that might be in the room, or that human that might be next to you, or that little puppy that might be waiting for your pet or your comfort or your attention, right?
You bet. For me, sometimes it's even just which wine glass I'm drinking my wine out of.
I always get so much happier when I have my what are they called again? The fabulous one, the Rydell's.
Yes.
I'm just happier when I'm holding that because it fits my hand so perfectly and it's so light.
Yeah, so I think it's that kind of thing. And then, you know, once you've actually made the statement, these things make me happy or these things bring me pleasure, I think it makes it easier to A, recognize it when it's in your hand, and B, it allows you to actually get more of it into your day, which both of those are key to, you know, going into creating a life of happiness. You kind of got to know that first before you can get into any ways or keys or strategies or anything. Just so know what makes you happy.
You know, and something I have to toss out there, I think one of the key things in helping us identify the things that we should be happy about is tied into this. I do these Manic Monday messages just to kind of kick off the week. And this was this week's, and it's actually stop worrying about what others think of you. What others think of you is none of your business. So if you're tying anything, any of your happiness qualities or happiness moments into what others think of you, then you've already got it wrong. So cross that out. We don't care what other people think about us. We can't. Life is too short. You've got a purpose, you've got passion, you've got vision, and you've got to get on with your life and find your happiness and be happy. So Debra, let's start with your number one thing to be happy about.
Wow, what am I going to follow with that? Like, don't give a rat's tushy what other people think. How about, you know, one of my good friends, Nicole Mangina, who is probably in the stream while we're having the chat, does this thing that she talks about at conferences called a gratitude journal. And it's not a rocket science idea. We've all talked about this. We've probably read lots and lots of books about it. But it's just something that has recently kind of come to the top, which is just write down 3 things that you're grateful for every single day. And you know, that there's so much power in writing things down. I mean, we talk about that with business planning. Heck, our happiness is more important than a business plan.
Oh, yeah.
Write it down. Know what makes you happy, and then write it down when it happens. And I think that what a fun exercise at the end of the day. Go to sleep with something happy in your mind.
And you don't have to go out and buy that book, 1,000 Things to Be Happy About, because you've created your own. And how much closer to home is that? You don't have to like go through everything and like try to figure out which is yours. They're all yours. Gratitude journal. Love it. Okay, so once upon a time in a land far, far away, actually not that far away, there was a book written called The Celestine Prophecy. And I loved this book. I absolutely loved it. I didn't really care for the ones that followed, but the primary one, Celestine Prophecy, which I thought when I first started reading it was real. It's not. But the story is so incredible, and it's really about this person who's become very disillusioned with real life and is looking for what the magic of it all is or what the magic message is. But one of the scenes in this story that really took my breath away was he was laying in a field of grass and looking for something to appreciate. And he was laying there long enough that he could look at this blade of grass, this single blade of grass, and watch the sunshine on it, the dew glisten in the sunlight, and maybe even see a moment where it turned or moved or grew. Wow. And so for me, what I'm encouraging us to do is to pull back from the overall, to look at those teeny tiny things that you step across, that you walk over, and look at them for their significance. But because we're surrounded by miracles and wonderment every day. The chances, because of the interference of media and like us and wine, the interference of talking and reading and watching TV, we miss all of these little teeny tiny things. So appreciate the manini, the tiny, the little, because they can have a significant impact. And I think a lot of this message, too, is on the appreciation of the smaller things. Deb, number 3?
Well, and I think that this flows right into that. I think that a lot of times we think happiness is only from within, but and things that we're doing for ourselves, or, of course, that other side that we talked about that doesn't work, which is other people doing things to make us happy. It's the doing things for other people.
Uh-oh, did I lose you? Hello?
I'm here.
Oh, yay. Okay, you kind of faded. I missed the last little part.
Oh, I said it's doing nice things for other people. In other words, making other people smile. Doing something, showing your gratitude in action. I think that it's really easy to say, oh, that makes me feel good, and I'm going to write it down, and that's where it stops. Like, we say we're happy, we say we're grateful for that happiness, but pay it forward. Do something that will inspire someone else to do the same thing. You know, we have to reach out. We have to really reach out and spread that happiness as well. And I think that we have the power to do that if we actually are coming from that place.
And putting a smile on somebody else's face is food for the soul. When you put a smile on their face, guess what comes back to you? Their smile. Doesn't that warm you? Doesn't that, like, I mean, it just, to me, it's like walking down the street on a Monday morning. We can choose to close off and not let anybody in, or we can choose to be open to receive. And I think when you're open to receiving and somebody's sending you a message of positivity, then you receive that and then you give back, and it's like this wonderful little circle of fabulousness.
Oh, I love that. And you know, one of the things